Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors' future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning. Oh, hold on. That's not right. There, that's a little, there we go. And the music. I'm still messing around with my setup a little bit, okay? Well, it's Monday. We're past, like, the major news of the week. So, we're in a place where things could get interesting, or really boring. We've got a couple of things going on, though. We also have, like, tax receipts coming in. That's going to be important to the treasury market. So, and we get earnings. We're in the thick of earnings season again. So, we got a bunch of banks coming out today and so forth. So we should still see some movement in the market. It's just going to be very different from what we've been seeing the last, month or two. So let's come in and look at the charts. But we do have to roll over oil here. So you can see here the treasuries pushing further interest rates. Well, we're still at around 3.54. A little mad that, because yesterday I was trying to get some long and just never really went for me per se. But look, here we are, quite a bit lower. S&P 500 holding things okay in the meantime. We'll see if they survive earnings though. We'll see. Here's gold and silver. Gold and silver taking pretty big hit on Friday. Kind of a very surprising move on Friday. Not really what we were expecting. And then we come out here to Bitcoin. Bitcoin fading a bit. I mean, that's pretty significant downside, relatively speaking. Wouldn't like be panicking, but and then the dollar. The dollar's still high. I saw a report from Bloomberg this morning that suggested that the hedge funds are all long the dollar, which I thought was interesting. With so many people betting on the dollar's demise right now. So it's interesting that there's that much interest in the dollar market, that much kind of both ways. Now here in the treasuries, we are moving to the upside. Like so far, the volume since the open has been upside volume, and I would also state it's fairly significant. So I don't know what is driving that. I find that to be a little bit unusual amount of trend for an early Monday. Mondays tend to be a little bit quiet, but when they get a trend, they can be monsters. Let's come over here. Goldman Trader, the S&P is higher than it would be without the bank crisis, but the net move is down towards 4,000. Hey, good morning, Walter. You're getting good here, being bright and early. Okay, so my microphone is a little too close. And I'm having hitches. I don't know what that's about. I'm skipping frames. Is my video card chugging here or something? What is driving the performance problems this morning? System interrupts. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna adjust my microphone here a little bit, okay? There we go. All right, well, seems that they have moderated a little bit. I would still say that was a decent amount of volume long, but we're perhaps getting some counterflow. How's it going? It's okay. It was not as productive of a weekend as I was hoping it would maybe be. I had to replace 2 appliances in my house. Can you believe that? They do not make things the way they used to, man. I guess that's all I can say. 2 appliances die 5 years. So like 5 or 6 years, appliance dies. Used to be they would last forever. Kind of frustrates me. So what was I gonna look at here? Oh yes. Earnings calendar. Well, the biggest one to report today is Charles Schwab and State Street, so I don't see any like super. There's a pharmaceutical that reports at the bottom of the hour, but oh, we get New York Fed manufacturing today. Okay. Yeah, it is not liking me here today. I'm just going to turn off the bigger source record here. What do you have in? Oh, yes. I think I do have it set to update. Okay, so hold on. Oh, I think my news squawk is messed up here. Still waiting on. Oh, here we go. Fuck. Still with me? I'm getting some weird system interrupts. Okay. So I have Rhythmic set up to have to adjust it. Here, I'll show you. Preferences, performance, adjust to keep up with market data inflow. And I have them set relatively low. Okay. Yeah, I should have been trying to trade that, but I was a little late, right? New York Fed manufacturing 10 versus a -8. Big surprise. That number has been Is my machine just not liking the video encoding here? I don't understand why it would be worse today. Yeah, 1 being the least and 100 being the highest. So if you're getting more than that, it just like queues them up. Man, super frustrated that I'm having some PC problems this morning. Okay, now even after doing that, I'm getting some issues. Okay, so Tim asked me a question. Are you using Jigsaw through the bridge? I am not. The bridge works very, very well. So let me explain to you how the bridge works. There is a feature of the .NET framework, essentially. So C# is a virtual machine garbage collected language like Java is, right? And because of that, the thing that kind of does the memory management bit is the .NET framework. Or no, that's not what it's called. What is it called? The word escapes me at the moment. Yeah, I'm experiencing all sorts of issues. I'm sorry. Anyways, oh man, it just completely destroyed my train of thought. Okay, anyways, so the virtual machine that basically manages the memory in C#, because of the way that works and everything, it basically gives it access to all the memory between all of the different programs. So when you are using the Jigsaw, when you're using the Jigsaw bridge, the NinjaTrader Jigsaw bridge, Jigsaw is functioning just as it's getting this data from the same place. It's not like it's sending some loop back through a socket or something like you often have to do for that sort of a program. It's just putting it in a memory location. Okay, so there's, you know, the only latency that there is like one processor cycle or whatever. So the bridges works very, very well. Were you able to catch all of that? Basically, they're sharing a single place in memory. NinjaTrader and Jigsaw are sharing a place in memory. So NinjaTrader puts the piece in the memory and Jigsaw pulls it out, right? So the only latency that's in there is the amount of time that it takes for Jigsaw to go in and look. So like if I do a recording and like put them next to each other, and I have one data feed that's going through the bridge and one data feed that's going directly into Jigsaw, sometimes you can see a 1 frame difference, but that's like it. So you're really not introducing latency with it. The issue with it is, you know, that it's going through NinjaTrader. So like if NinjaTrader crashes or something, then you have a problem, right? I'm wondering if I got something else wrong here. I'm thinking about, well, it wants me to restart my computer here. I have updates, but I had updates last time that I restarted. Since slimming everything down, I haven't had any more problems. ND is no way close. Nah, something is running there. Okay, here's how we're gonna deal with this. I am thinking about a restart. But let's try latency, mon. No, so Sierra Charts is written in C++, so that kind of helps. But Sierra Charts is like on a global update loop of sorts anyways, right? Like it grabs new data every so many milliseconds, and I think there's a setting in there that can change it, right? The NinjaTrader, I keep hearing people say this. Where was it that you said 250 milliseconds? I hear people say that, but I don't know where they're getting that from, because I can't recall anywhere in the NinjaTrader documentation where it talks about that. And I there's like one place, and they're talking about something different. So I don't think that's what people think it is. I think that is people that don't really know what they're talking about misconstruing something that they read. The difference with NinjaTrader is that, okay, there it was right there. The difference with NinjaTrader is that it runs on like a notification architecture. They don't talk about their flat notes. People make shit up. What NinjaTrader does is it runs on a kind of like a notification architecture, right? They're using on update methods to do everything. So there is a event called market data, and then every indicator and whatever's going on can all subscribe to that market data event, and then when it happens, they all get notified. Right, that's how NinjaTrader works. That's like the system architecture for that, right? Okay, let's see if we can figure out what was driving the interrupt. I was kind of having these issues yesterday when I was watching a video, so I'm very, very confident that it is not NinjaTrader or Jigsaw or OBS. I have to say this here, charts support sucks. That's the first time I've ever heard that. I feel like that when you're having a technical problem, it's dealing with support sucks no matter what. Okay, here we go. Hard page faults. Nothing unusual in there. See, when I got fed up with NinjaTrader's support, their brokerage, at least their brokerage support, it's not very good. See, I'm getting highest reported DBC routine execution time, WDF, the kernel mode, system driver. Well, so we do have some moderate news events this week, like housing data and stuff like that, but generally I would say that this week is relatively quiet compared to normal. No. So, oh man, this is a long story. So I had a few problems with NinjaTrader brokerage. They moved me over to the newer NinjaTrader clearing and all of that stuff. the support that I got just wasn't very good. I had serious issues at critical points too many times, and so I switched over to Edge Clear. Edge Clear allows me to use Rhythmic, which I think is, I very much prefer this going through Rhythmic Trader Pro and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I've been happier at Edge Clear. I think their commissions are competitive, but probably a little bit more than NinjaTrader. But you're talking about like cents. It's not a significant issue. Man, this is looking like maybe they want to go a little bit further here. Well, since doing that measurement, I haven't had a cutout, but I'm betting you it's coming here. I'm wondering if I should just stop the stream, restart my computer, and see if that fixes anything. I'm trying to think of what I've changed that could be causing this issue. I've definitely like moved my setup around. Yep, so I'm using NinjaTrader just for the charting. Exactly. And to be honest with you, so now that they're like NinjaTrader 8.1, I'll probably send a message to them today and see what we can work out. Maybe I can start getting kinetic data, and that would fix some of my issues, but I can't move over to 8.1. It won't let me do it with Rhythmic. So like, what do you do there? I don't know. But if we get another spike, well, I will restart my machine. It's gonna do an update, so it'll take a little bit of time, but it's a Monday. I'm sorry, guys. I feel like because I'm dealing with these multiple issues here and trying to talk to you guys, I'm giving you really jumbled answers. I apologize. Kinetic and Rhythmic are kind of same. Oh, not quite. Kinetic is much more expensive data, especially if you get all of this stuff. Trying to catch my breath here. So, I mean, the thing you got to realize is like every platform has its quirks, right? I think that most retail traders, when they start out in the futures trading space, they go through this thing of like, okay, there's one platform is going to be the best platform, and I'm going to figure out which one it is. There was the dropout again, you know, and then when they make their decision, it's like that's the best one and everybody should use that one. The thing that you have to realize is that the futures trading space is so competitive, and the margin that you get from the business is so small that you really can't have an application that's like clearly head and shoulders above the rest sort of a thing. It just doesn't work that way. Instead, what they do is they each kind of have their segment of the market that works better, right? So Jigsaw, God, come on. NinjaTrader is kind of the one that's like you get all of the little quirks and stuff, or you know, all of the cool indicators. It has the best ecosystem, and since I'm a programmer, That's what attracts me to NinjaTrader, right? Jigsaw is the platform that is geared towards retail traders that want to use the DOM and trade very quickly as well, right? Speed. The professionals, they go towards trading technologies, right? And Sierra charts, the thing that I don't think that a lot of the Sierra charts traders realize is that Sierra charts has really been the more cost-effective. Sorry, shouldn't say cost-effective, but a slightly cheaper version of Jigsaw, right? So they steal all of the features from everybody else and give them to you for a monthly put up upfront cost, right? That's what NinjaTrader does. Or sorry, I'm gonna restart my machine. This is just it's interrupting my thoughts so much I can't even freaking think. So don't go anywhere. The stream is gonna stop for a second. I'll be right back. All right, and I'll message in the chat when. Okay. All right, can you guys, am I back online? Can you guys see me? Cool. Well, I stopped the stream and completely restarted my computer. So let's see if that fixes our issues. As I was looking through things, I noticed that one of my audio devices that it requires a separate power cord, that the power cord was twisted around the USB cable. So I also fixed that. So it may have been that we were getting interrupts from that device getting screwed up by the power or something like that. Because the only thing that I've really changed is rearranging my desk. So like, I unplugged devices and plugged them back in and stuff like that. So it might be something related to that. So far though, I haven't had any skipped frames. So this can't happen. I have a fiduciary. Well, so number one, I don't think that I necessarily have a fiduciary responsibility, but I do have a responsibility to do a good job, right? So I want to go back. Well, no, let's run this for 5-10 minutes, and then if I don't get any drops, then I'll add the recording bits again. Okay, so going back to what I was saying before, okay, in terms of platforms, a typical person wants to come in and say, oh, I'm going to figure out which platform is the best, and that's the best platform. And the issue is that the trading and the futures space are just kind of different from your typical thing. So the sorts of like heuristics and stuff that you might use to determine like what is the best application for me to use don't necessarily apply to trading applications. Okay. And the big thing is that it's so competitive and the margins are so small that really you can't have one application that is just like objectively better than everything else, right? Instead, what happens is they all have to find their own segment of the market that they cater to. Okay, so the big advantage to NinjaTrader is that it has the best ecosystem. You can write things in C#, and it's extremely flexible, and so there are a lot more indicators and things like that you can get for NinjaTrader, and that's its advantage. Okay, now it's written in C#, so it is a garbage collected language, doesn't manage the memory as well as like C++ would, and it's maybe an issue when you're dealing with an application that can potentially take up a gigabyte of memory. But generally speaking, I find that it does pretty well. And the only issue I've ever had with NinjaTrader is that, you might get an indicator in there or something that's not working correctly, and just NinjaTrader just kind of like gets forked up and you have to restart it, which really sucks. Which is one of the primary reasons why I like to use the Rhythmic Trader Pro connection, where that directly connects to NinjaTrader, and then Jigsaw connects to it as well. And then if I have to restart NinjaTrader, Jigsaw isn't affected, my execution isn't affected, right? The advantage of Jigsaw is that it has the best OM, and it's really good for traders that want to be very active and fast in the markets. So if you want to scout, then you probably want to go to Jigsaw, right? Sierra charts, I think the thing they advertise, or not advertise, but I think one of the things that the community really likes about Sierra charts is that it's C++. Okay, I don't know if C++ is really giving it that big of an edge in performance wise. And like I was saying, they have an update loop in Sierra charts. Sierra charts has an update loop, and when you're programming, especially if you're programming order flow stuff, you have to like interface directly with that update loop and like track things, which is a little bit annoying compared to NinjaTrader's system, where they just use a notification architecture where everything subscribes to an event, and then when that event happens, all of those functions are run, right? So updating between the two applications happens fundamentally different. And I'm not entirely convinced that Sierra Charts is in all respects faster and better. And that said, Sierra Charts is always pretty snappy. Okay. But the thing that Sierra Charts has always done is anytime anybody adds a cool feature, Sierra Charts will add it too, right? And then they have a package where, you pay like $60 a month, depending on which one and which data you're getting, that gives you all of these features, right? So the thing that has always given Sierra Charts a leg up really has more to do with getting all of these different indicators without having to put any upfront costs, being able to just pay a monthly fee. And a lot of people prefer that. So that's always been Sierra Charts space, which is not what I think the typical Sierra Charts user thinks they're getting when they get it, right? Now, all of these platforms, when it comes down to support and things like that, the reality is that anytime that you have to contact brokerage support is a bad time, right? Anytime you have to contact brokerage support is a bad time. I had enough issues with NinjaTrader FCM that I wanted to switch. Now, I think a lot of that is like growing pains. So I'm sure that a year, 2 years from now, they'll have sorted all of those problems out, and they'll have sorted all of the problems with their web framework out, and that'll be a lot better, right? But for now, I'm like, no thanks. And in fact, I'm kind of would like to be able to just run everything on Jigsaw, to be honest with you. I would like to be able to just run everything on Jigsaw if I could. And maybe we'll get there. But I would still probably be using NinjaTrader in some form, because backtesting and that sort of a thing, right? So that's what I was trying to say. Oh yeah, I whatever the problem was, I definitely fixed it. I really do think it was that. I know that seems like such a silly thing, but I really think it was the power cable being wrapped around the USB. Because if there was electrical interference and that every once in a while it caused some sort of an issue where the data was garbled up and the computer choked on it, that could definitely cause the interrupt that I was seeing. It also could have just been the restart fixed it. So I did completely restart the machine. But either way, things seem very smooth now. I am going to come in and turn back on my filters to record the source, so that if we want to like make a video out of some of this stuff later, we can do that. Turn on this source record. There we go. Okay. And it looks like everybody made it back too. Good morning, Steven. Let's see here. Let's go back to the comments now. Now, kinetic and rhythmic are not the same data, though. Kinetic is a very different. What is Steven selling? What are you talking about? Anyways, so here's the thing. I know. So you guys are saying NinjaTrader only updates every 250 milliseconds, right? I saw that a comment about that on Futures.io, and I think that that's like the origin of that, right? I don't think that that's entirely accurate to how NinjaTrader works, and here's why I believe that that's not accurate, because I have some indicators, and especially when I'm debugging things, where I will print out literally every message that gets sent to me and the time that they're received and all of that sort of stuff. And I definitely receive market data events that are less than 250 milliseconds apart, right? So no, Lucas. They're saying that like the update loop on the NinjaTrader side, where it like goes and looks in the queue and pulls the new messages out, that only happens every 250 milliseconds, and I'm pretty sure that's not true. Right? It updates more than 4 times a second. I know that much. Okay, the NinjaTrader ecosystem has an indicator called chart lag. Let's go find that. Let's see if I can find user app share. I do not see that. You're talking about on the app share? Even if I just type in lag, it only gives me a few indicators. Oh, actually, that gave me a few more. No, I don't see it. I don't see one called chart lag. There's this tick refresh. I don't know what that's about. Why would you do that? It used to be, maybe they took it down. NinjaTrader chart lag. Chart time indicator for lag time charts in maybe, and I think this is the Futures.io thing where that claim comes from. Okay, so I think you're talking about this one. That's a good one, chart refresh. Sorry, you're talking about where did it go? Tick refresh. No offense, but when I read that, when I just reading that name, it says that sounds to me like a misunderstanding of how things work. Like that sounds to me like that my first thought is that's written by somebody that maybe knows a little bit about programming but isn't familiar enough with NinjaTrader and how it's architected. Yeah, see, I this is the thread. Oh, then this is a thread I've seen before. I don't think that this is the thread where people come get that 250 milliseconds bit from. Download. Chart time. Okay, so now that I did all that, I'm going to close this window. I'm going to look at these indicators. Oh, there we go. Man, I'm still mad that we kind of missed that move from the outset, but I don't know if it was that big of a deal. I don't think that I would have been able to catch much of it anyways. Okay, which one should we look at? NT8 lag analyzer? That seems to be the closest to what? Open. Encode. Starship Srub? What are you talking about? Okay. What the fetch? Oh, no, wait. That's data lag timer.cs. It is, oh, I see. This is one with a DLL, so I cannot see what this NinjaTrader 8 lag analyzer is doing. So I don't trust it. But not that I'm saying that there's like something bad in it or anything. I'm saying no, I don't have Windows Subsystem for Linux installed. I'm get rid of that. I'm saying I cannot confirm that like that what it's giving you is actual real lag, right? So let's try this chart time one. Okay. So yeah, that one's pretty simple. Okay, so this one is saying there is a time that is in core globals, and there is a time market that you get in the market data update. So there's two issues with this one. Number one is that I don't know what that time is actually supposed to be. Like, is that core globals actually updated frequently enough? Right? Because what could happen is this on market data has run like 6 times and core globals.now has not been updated. Right? I suppose though you should see that, okay, as long as this time difference was a positive number, I guess that could be that's not occurring. But then the other issue is, like, if you get like a bunch of market data updates like queued up, right? So this could show you like a situation where like a really big burst of data came through, and it takes a little bit for your machine because maybe your machine's just not fast enough to process all of the individual data pieces, and you have a ton of stuff on it, right? Then you could see there would be a little difference between the two of them, right? In normal circumstances, they should be really close though. But I just don't know about how that core now function, how that's updated. This is the chart time one. Now let's look at the tick refresh one. This is the one that I was like, that seems like it might be based on some misunderstandings. Yeah, it creates an indicator that calculates on each tick. Then the on-bar update runs each time. So I don't understand why this would even do anything. Like, you can go into any indicator and tell it to calculate on each tick. That doesn't change anything about the main data series, right? Was the market one? Oh, the first one. What was it? NT8 lag analyzer, that one. God, this indicator, I don't understand what they think they're doing with this. This is where I was like, this seems like it to be based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how NinjaTrader works. You can change the calculate time for any NinjaTrader indicator by going into the indicators themselves. If it'll pop up here. And you can come in here and change the calculate to be on each tick or on price change. And that's all it's changing, is it's just putting an indicator on there that calculates on each tick. But like, what is it actually doing? Well, it looks like it forces the chart to refresh. But I still don't understand why they would do anything. Force the whole thing to redraw every time, despite the price having not changed, that shouldn't affect your chart. So if there was something about the way that the bars updated that you didn't like, you should be creating a new bar type, right? Like you could create your own style of candle that just was forced to redraw each time there was an update. That would be a little excessive. I don't think you would want to do that unless prices changed, right? Although I wonder, you know, because it depends on what you're trading. But like this seems pointless. I don't get this. I don't get it. Just looks cool, nothing much. Yeah, I guess. If I can go to this thread, search this thread for 250 milliseconds. No matches. There's some people saying that your chart time could be off from things if your system time is not set up correctly. So one thing is there's an application here, where is it? Yeah, this little thing right here, this synchronize. It regularly synchronizes my machine with an atomic clock. That can help a little bit. Yeah, I'm not seeing. Anyways, the point was the claim that NinjaTrader only updates every 250 milliseconds. I think is false, and is a misunderstanding on the part of a user, not understanding what's going on, measuring something that they don't understand completely, right? Windows 11 sucks. I have to sync every time I start the PC. Well, the application just syncs it for me. I don't remember why, but that was something that John Bottomley told me to do, was to keep your clock synced like that. Oh, what's this one that Shizdig sent me? Oh yeah, that's the chart time indicator one. Well, that would be interesting to go in and check that, like, so that lag bit, it could be like if your system time was off, you put that indicator on there, and then the timing that it gets on the data pieces is like when that piece of data was sent to you or something like that. They could be time stamped incorrectly. Like your core clock could be wrong. Someone's going to have to show me this instance where they're having problems. And I'm going to bet you that what it will come down to is somebody has a tick replay indicator on like 20 charts, right? And so every time that they get new data, they're doing a complex calculation 20 times, and their PC just can't handle it. I'm going to bet you. So, yeah. That said, there are going to be some situations where, you know, you get like a really huge spike of data come through, and you process all of that in C++ and you process that in C#, and the C++ one will be faster. And it could be milliseconds, and that could matter, I guess. But to that point, then if that was what mattered to you, you wouldn't have very much complex processing out there, right? Like you wouldn't want to have like a cumulative delta or algorithms trying to determine whether those orders were buys and sells. Excuse me. Dollar is on the rise this morning. That is curious. Oh, I remember this thread. So I'm reading the beginning of the thread. This is Chipwitch. I had 16 points in MES trade nearing the close. The chart showed 16 points, but the P&L marker showed I had a profit of 250. So I flattened everything. I lost over 10 points. How do y'all deal with the lag? Okay, so first of all, nothing in there that she says indicates to me that there was lag. Like, I think the more likely thing in that situation was that there was no liquidity, right? Well, she had a trade in MES. It was near the close, or was it after the close? Too bad she didn't provide a screenshot. Oh, they send a link to performance tips for NinjaTrader 8. Use tick replay sparingly. Remove unneeded objects. Yep. Another one that is really crazy is people will use chart drawing objects, you know? Like this line right here, that's a chart drawing object, right? And when you have like 100 of those on the chart, it is a nightmare. You don't want more than a few dozen of those ones, or that'll really slow your chart down. Reduce the amount of charts with global crosshairs enabled. Yeah, that does help. Oh yeah, use a hardwired internet connection. That's another one. Is I've come across people that are like claiming, oh, you know, I'm really concerned about the latency and everything, but then they're using wireless internet. Like, especially when you get like the lag. It's just not. What's the name on the sync program? It was called It was called Tick Refresh version 4. Oh, you know what? I need to... Forgot to open up the terminal. Yeah, wireless is a no-no. Yeah, any... I mean, wireless is really good, but I still wouldn't trade or play video games on it. And it's Stefan, good morning. Well, we had a little bit of technical issues, but I think we sorted it out. I think my theory is still that the power cord had got wrapped around the USB cable, and that was causing that audio device to error. Okay, so now since I've had that period of time where I haven't been in there, I'm just gonna do a quick mod check. Okay, now I think we're good. Oh, and Luke asked, and it was funny how many of you came in during that period when I restarted. Looks like they're recovering this downside pretty well. Oh my gosh, this just reminds me, Bill O'Reilly was saying something about religion. It just reminds me of something that I saw that I thought about a lot yesterday. Something that's near and dear to my heart, and that I think hits at one of the things that I'm trying to do with the stream, or let's say with teaching about markets in general. Because this guy on TikTok, well, I don't think it was on TikTok. I think I was just showing a video clip on TikTok. But this guy was saying basically that people without the framework of Christianity to determine what is moral and what is not have started to concoct their own frameworks to determine what is moral. And that's where you're getting a lot of these odd cultural movements where, you know, a lot of people, especially Christians, are like, why are you trying to destroy our society, sort of a thing. And it's, well, they think that what they're doing is moral, right? And the biggest one is they believe that a moral society would have equity, that like the outcomes amongst different groups of people, whether you divide it by sex or race or whatever you choose, that there should be an equitable distribution between them, right? And that we should implement policies to create that outcome. And when we don't have that outcome, we should give certain people a boost to create that outcome, right? And I do not believe that that's moral. And in fact, I think it's immoral. I think the worst thing you can do to a person, like in all seriousness, I think the worst thing that you can do to a person is to lift them up beyond their ability and rob them of the chance to figure things out and have success on their own. Yeah. You take somebody that they're not, their group is underperforming in academic performance. And so you take a certain group of them and you boost them in college admissions. I think you're doing an awful thing to them. Sounds like trading coaches. Well, the whole thing is that the reason that I chose finance was because I realized that finance had the ability to improve people's lives more than anything else. But we don't do it through handouts or charity. We do it through enabling, right? You come in and banking essentially is giving businesses loans to do their business with, right? It's not a handout. It's a loan. They pay it back, right? But it is enabling that growth, and then they have the ability to go out and compete in the open market and realize their full potential, right? If you just come in and you just start giving them money, you're robbing them of the experience of doing that. And I think that that's wrong. I think that one of the greatest experiences that you can have in life is trying really hard at something and having some level of success. This doesn't mean that everybody gets to the top, but like, coming in here and doing this live stream and this YouTube channel. And I know that we talk a lot about like what we can do to improve it and why do we not do as well as maybe we think we should, and what are the dynamics behind that. But at the end of the day, to get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube doing this is really quite a feat. And I'm really quite proud of it. And I wouldn't give that experience up for anything. And the last thing that I would want is for somebody to come in, like some YouTube employee come in and push a button and say, we're just going to boost Seth because I like him. I would be awful. That would be robbing me of the opportunity to do it organically, to do it on my own, Banks pay back if they make a profit, if not bailout. Well, but those bailouts are usually loans too. Right? You know what? I really think that we as a society, we got the bailout thing wrong. The bailouts aren't necessarily unfair. I think that we have the ability to adjust the amount of money in the money supply, and we can adjust that according to current conditions. And that when there are businesses out there that are still good, profitable businesses, if not for a temporary, short-term, some sort of financial crisis situation related to the economy, I don't think that you want those businesses to fail because of that. I think that in most of these cases, you would like the companies to continue on, but you don't want to create a perverse incentive. That's the issue, right? So you don't want that to turn into a reason for executives to just go and do any crazy thing they can to make money at the expense of the long-term health of the company, right? So many conservatives in particular have come to the conclusion that bailouts are bad and we should just never do it. And that's led to some of them saying in this situation, oh, well, we shouldn't have done anything about the SVB bank collapse and so on and so forth. I don't think that these conservatives realize what they're saying, because what they're basically saying is, I want every bank except for the big four US banks, which is Citi, Bank of America, JP Morgan, and I forget who else you'd put in there. But you don't want just those four banks, right? And if you did what a lot of these people are saying, you would just decimate the regional banking sector, right? So no, but we don't want to create a perverse incentive, right? Like if you got bailed out, one of the conditions of being bailed out should be new leadership, right? Should be new leadership. And we need to go back to some of the incentives that we have in our system that create this in the first place. For instance, the companies prioritizing their short-term health at the expense of their long-term health. And so you have these companies where their earnings look good, but then when you look over a 5-year period, they do terrible, or they go out of business in 5 years. That's not good, right? We need to fix that. We need to find better ways to reward long-term performance, right? Or rather to align a CEO's incentives with long-term performance, right? One of the things that I think are hampering that is stock buybacks. Like, I can see the theoretical framework where like stock buybacks, they help the investor, and why should they not be able to buy back their own shares? But like when you can do debt, You can be taking on debt and doing share buybacks, and you know, money is fungible and all that sort of thing. You know, I don't think that it's been good for us. And I think that, you know, right now they're doing like, oh, well, you can do stock buybacks, but we're going to tax you on it, right? I really think that you just need to get rid of them. It's caused too many problems. You ever got Seth investments? What are you talking about? Talking about my main portfolio? It's done okay too. I don't think about that one too much lately because, you know, the stock market overall is down 20% or so from the all-time highs. And man, I tell you what, when I get on TikTok and it starts sending me finance content, I just can't stand it because so much of that content is so skewed and frankly just incorrect assumptions, you know, from people that really don't understand what they're talking about. Like there was this one guy that was like, oh, how is it we had all of this inflation and stuff, but like stock prices haven't been harmed all that much? And I'm like, a 20% decline from all-time highs is not that bad. Like, come on. You gotta realize that a good portion of that upside that we had post-pandemic was just from the excess inflation, and that's why we're paying for it. It's just the market coming back to where it should have been all along. Funny part is brokerages aren't insured. I mean, our funds in the brokerage accounts. Yes, but in order for that to matter, your brokerage would have to be doing something pretty awful, right? They'd have to be doing something very naughty. Like somebody would have to be taking on a massive leverage position that they didn't have the money in their account to cover, and now move far beyond, you know, an overnight move or an instant move far beyond anything that we've experienced. Not that it hasn't happened before. I've never heard of a futures broker going down like that, but I bet you it's happened before. I bet you if you went back in the history far enough, there was some futures broker that went broke. Naughty stuff, yes. Oh, they're not going to launch the space shuttle today. Elon says that pressure valve appears to be frozen. One of the funds that has been warning about SVB has found another potentially concerning bank. Joseph Wang retweeting Holdco Asset Management. Holdco issued a presentation today titled "The Unsafest and Unsoundest of Them All, U.S. Bank Corp." Oh no, I never turned on my fan. Hold on. I was getting so good at remembering to do that. Futures Trader 71 commenting about the weather shifting really fast, and that's been happening everywhere. I think it's supposed to snow this week here in Utah. I don't know when. It's not today, is it? It's like Tuesday, Wednesday. I think today is just supposed to be a little bit overcast. Yeah, tomorrow. And then rain, maybe the weekend. Oh, it's going to be a little bit cloudy all week. Well, that's good though. 50s will be nice. Today though, 74. Should get the man. I've still having the issue, like I've been telling you, but I have this medication that's really expensive, and my energy is like really down without it because of the inflammation. And they still haven't processed it. They still haven't processed it. Can you believe that? Biden brought some good weather to Island. Gold and silver not looking so hot this morning. Gold at the moment is getting sold back to 2000. I think they'll buy it. Well, there's got to be people looking for it to bounce at 2000, but it's almost there. You believe in it? Well, you're wrong. like here's the thing. First of all, equity, equal outcome, is not a realistic goal, right? You're never gonna get it, right? But then the other side of it is that the policies that people are pursuing in pursuit of that unrealistic goal are very harmful to people. Right. You can't go and boost one person at the expense of another person. Because then what you create is a system where everybody's always just trying to game that system instead of trying to be successful on their own efforts. And I understand people want to do it because like they want to help minorities and things, but it's not actually helping minorities. It's harmful to those people that you're trying to help. There's a lot of these policies, especially on the left. I saw this other thing the other day that he made a good point, which it was like, well, why is it that communists, when they implement certain policies, they don't work, they don't realize, this doesn't work, and then change and try and do something else. And the answer is that most communists, when they run into that situation, they say, well, the reason this didn't work was because we weren't communist enough, or we weren't socialist enough. And so they feel like they have to double down on it even harder in order for it to work, right? And I see that amongst liberals as well. They're like, well, like 20 to 30 years of these kinds of policies where, reverse racist policies is what I would call them, have not improved the condition of minorities in the United States. That must mean that we just need to push that policy even harder, and we need to go even further with it. It's dumb. And that's how you end up with Biden, like making all of the same mistakes that Jimmy Carter made, frankly. But we'll see if it hurts him or not. Because right now, I tell you what, man, so many people, like so much of the media that I see right now is about the transgender issue. A lot of people are saying, it's because there's this right-wing anti-transgender lobby that's pushing it. But I don't think that's the case. There just keeps being news stories about it. There's news stories every day, and the things that I'm seeing are a little shocking. I think it was this weekend that Washington passed a law. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. Washington passed a law that basically said that the state could, if the parents weren't gender affirming, with, you know, if the kid wanted a transition and the parents said no, that the state could take them out of the parents' custody and they wouldn't even have to notify the parents. Like, I cannot even fathom what is going through a policymaker's head making a policy like that, right? That's just like insane. And here you got all of these parents at home like, the state can just take my kids and not even tell me? Yeah, that's why people are talking about it a lot, man. It's because you're giving them reasons to talk about it. It's not some lobby. Yeah, it is gaslighting. I think some people are gaslighting, yes. But the left has to come up with some reason as to believe. I think part of it is because the left seems to think that this issue is going against them, to be honest with you. Otherwise, if you thought it was a winning issue for you, wouldn't you want to just push it? Right? But I think the reality is that the majority of Americans do not think that male to female transgender athletes should be competing against women. Is like the first side of it. The majority of Americans think that fairness is more important than inclusion. But then it also appears that the majority of people believe that children should not be transitioning as well, right? And so I think that the left is freaking out about this because they realize that they've found a cultural issue that they're not going to win on, right? But my concern is I'm not sure if that is enough to win you an election. I think that some Republicans are acting on the presumption that that's going to win the election for them or something, and I don't think that it will. So like if it came down to Joe Biden's transgender policies versus stopping all aid to Ukraine, I think that most Americans will go, you know, I think that the Ukraine issue will trump that, for instance. See, the issue with like quote unquote new morality in the internet age is that morality has basically become about what you appear to other people, right? So this just goes back to the ESG thing. How you can be a company that just completely abuses your workers, is screwing over average Americans at every step, and yet they have a commercial that is diverse, and then they get the ESG label to say this is a moral investment. That's absolute bullshit. And it I think originates in this thing that like how moral you appear to other people on social media is what morality is now. Yeah. When morality is supposed to be about doing the right thing even when nobody sees it. And it's supposed to be about you and your personal life and doing the best in your personal life, right? Like it drives me nuts to see kids, like I'll see young kids on social media doing stuff like this. They're virtue signaling and they're trying to present themselves as a super moral person, but then they say, it doesn't matter how well I do in school. I think that how well you do in school is a moral issue. I think that if you are underperforming on a serious task, you're underperforming what you can. You're not putting your best effort forth, whether it's at school or your job or with your family or whatever the deal is. I think that's immoral because it has to do with doing what you know you should be doing on a personal level. That's morality. Just saying. Right? How does that apply to trading? Do you come into trading, okay, and you do something in your trading that you know you're not supposed to? You come in and you double down on a trade when it was already down, for instance. Yeah, you get away with it most of the time. You actually will. The more risk you take on, the greater your chances of winning, right? But when you come in and you blow the account, I think you've done something immoral. I feel bad when it happens, or when it happened. I've never doubled down on a trade like that, right? But I have had trades where I took too many trades in a day and like really screwed up, right? So I think it's a personal failing. I don't know what got me on the woke thing. I wanted to talk a little bit about it, but I've gone way further than I thought. But yeah, it needs to be said, man. It needs to be said. Did we just get a news headline there? I'm not seeing anything, but something happened there in the treasuries. A little bit of buying seems to be limited just to the treasury, though. Looks like gold is bouncing. Oops. I need to turn that off. There we go. Yes, let's read about that New York Fed survey. While normally the New York Fed Manufacturing Index does not get much attention, or at least hasn't in the 6 months when it was consistently bearish, printing in contractionary negative territory ever since November, today's print was nothing short of blockbuster and will certainly get lots of airtime because just as the economy careens into a recession, which even the Fed now explicitly wants, the fine economist at the New York Fed reported that their April number for the Empire Manufacturing Index not only soared from March's negative 11.5, a number which consensus estimated would drop to negative 18, to 10%, some 20 points above the highest forecast, but was at the highest level since July of 2022. Remarkably, this was the second biggest beat to expectations in history, blowing away the top end of the range, which was nowhere close, with just the June post-COVID era expectation smashing 29.4 print higher than what was seen in April. For those wondering, this was an 11 sigma beat to the consensus median. The remarkable change was in the new orders number, which exploded from a negative 21.7 to a positive 25.1, the single biggest monthly increase in history. Commenting on today's data, the New York Fed said that business activity increased in New York State for the first time in 5 months. The headline General Business Conditions Index shot up 35 points to 10.8. New orders and shipments surged, delivery times held steady, and inventories moved higher. Despite the increase in activity, both employment and hours of work declined for a third consecutive month. input price increases moderated, while selling prices increase at the same pace as last month. However, not all is well just yet. Looking ahead, businesses continue to expect little improvement in conditions over the next 6 months, suggesting that this may be just one more in an ever-growing list of economic releases that has been scrubbed for political reasons. Well, okay, so we don't have any we don't have any evidence pointing to that. I think that it's kind of more the case that the short-term number does not give you a very good idea of where we're actually headed, right? This looks like this particular month is a little bit of an aberration. Turning back to the survey, 35% of respondents reported that conditions had improved over the month, and 24% reported that conditions had worsened. The new orders index rose a whopping 47 points to 25.1, and the shipments index climbed 37 points to 23.9, indicating that both orders and shipments increased substantially after declining in recent months. The unfilled orders index rose to a 0, a sign that unfilled orders were unchanged. Like this could just be demand being like rolled out and kind of coming back in. That doesn't mean that like things are really getting fundamentally better, right? The index for number of employees remained negative for a third consecutive month at -8, and the average work week index held below 0 at -6.4, indicating that employment and hours worked shrank. The prices paid index fell 9 points to 33, indicating that input price increases moderated. The prices received index held steady at 23.7, suggesting pace of selling increases was little changed. The index for future business conditions edged up to 6.6, suggesting that firms do not expect activity to improve much for the next 6 months. New orders and shipments are expected to increase moderately, and employment is expected to grow. The capital spending index rose 3 points to 16.5, and the technology spending index came in at 10.3. Overall, this was a shockingly strong report. However, the Empire Fed survey is well known for being completely unrelated to core data and has traditionally been associated with head fakes and false starts. Stocks, however, aren't taking any chances, and risk dipped while odds of a May 25 basis point hike rose that much more and were last seen at 86%. Yeah, it sure seems that it will be a 25 basis point hike for sure now, right? We're getting a little steepening here today. That's curious. For some reason, my nose feels a little dry this morning. Well, we're still just rotating around 17. This is pretty lackluster action, and the S&P 500 has been open for 30 minutes and has barely gone anywhere. Not the best trading today. The S&P 500 is super tight. Looking around for some other stuff going on since it's such a quiet market this morning. Even Twitter is quiet this morning too. I shouldn't say even Twitter, but Really? Reddit is allowing users to be verified, but only through $300 NFTs. No, thank you. No, thank you. Could you go over the pillars of a trading strategy again? Well, I made a video about that the other day, right? It's the last video that we made. Why you suck at day trading? Oh, I'll just copy you the link. Okay, there's a link. But the five things that you need to be incorporating into your strategy that retail traders don't: more than one instrument, order flow, risk management, volatility. What's the fifth one? Predictors of order flow, right? Really, predictors of order flow should be number one, right? That's where your real edge is going to come from. And then understanding the current conditions created by the order flow, correlated instruments, volatility, and risk management. There's 5. I've been working on a new sort of a thing. This is kind of more from a macroeconomic perspective. And these are like the 5, I don't know how many there's going to be, but like 5 key insights to understanding financial markets. Because I think what happens is that leads to a lot of like the misinformation and why people just seem to be so easy to mislead on economic issues is because people are always being thrust into this really in the weeds argument about specific things, and they're never able to see like the top level. Okay, like why do we deal with these issues in the first place? Why is the financial system like the way that it is, right? So the first insight that I think that you need to understand is that markets are not informationally efficient. So not all available information is reflected in stock prices, okay? Stock is only a record of the people buying and selling, and that does not necessarily always match up with what one would consider to be fundamental value, if there is such a thing, okay? And so you cannot just look at the prices and say you understand the market. You really have to dive down and understand the companies and the different securities themselves and what's going on with them to understand the market. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is when we get to money, right? Because money is ultimately debt, right? All money is debt. Why is that? Because a lot of people want it to be all your money is backed by gold or something like that. Why is it the way that it is? Well, the problem is that what we want to do is always greater than the currently available resources. And that's always the case. Because if we already had the available resources, we would have already done it, right? So all plans involve some sort of a future, right? And that's why we have to take on debt, is to get those resources so that we can make that thing happen, and then you pay it back. And as long as you are in a position to be able to pay the debt back, you're fine, right? We only run into a problem when you take on debt beyond your ability to pay it back, which is the path that the United States is on. But that's where you have a problem, right? So really, Congress spends too much money, right? We're at all-time highs in terms of percentage of GDP that is going into taxes. Okay, so the government needs to cut back on its spending. It really does. It's unsustainable, right? But we have to have a debt-based economy because current plans are always going to be larger than currently available resources. And if you don't have the ability to take on debt, essentially it's very, very difficult to grow, right? And nobody will actually be performing at their full capacity. Okay. So that's why you need debt, right? The third thing is when we're talking about the Federal Reserve, okay? Because everybody's complaining, okay, we're having inflation problems. Why is the solution raise interest rates and kill demand, right? Well, I'll tell you why. Yeah, the stream. Sorry, Trading Bunny. I think you came in right when I restarted my computer and everything, so you came in right while I was dealing with all of that. But I think I figured out what the issue was and fixed it. Okay, so the next economic thing that I want to talk about is when it comes to supply and demand, you need to realize that our ability to impact supply and demand is different between them, right? So affecting supply is very difficult, right? Because you're basically coming in and saying, okay, all of you people that make stuff, you need to make more of that stuff. Well, how do you do that if they're already making as much as they can? That's going to require investment. That's possibly going to require productivity increases like innovations and stuff like that, right? Increasing supply is difficult, right? Whereas demand, it's very easy to decrease demand, right? You just don't buy the things, right? And or you give people the money and they go and they buy the things, right? So demand is very malleable and supply is not. And that matters greatly to the kind of policies that we make, right? Because if we're going to increase supply, that typically has to be done through fiscal policy and investments. Whereas the Federal Reserve can deal with demand as the situation requires. That's an important thing to realize. Because we have had inflation and it has been very, very problematic for us. And why did we have this problem? Well, because we spiked demand up. It's really unfortunate because here's the thing. The demographics matter. Here's the thing about the demographics that I don't see people picking up on, because a lot of people are talking about, like there's going to be the demographic collapse and stuff like that. Well, yes, but for the next 10 years, we end up in an interesting spot where the demand, aggregate demand, is going to be the highest it may ever be. everything that we know about about the demographics and so forth say to us that right now we are experiencing the highest demand that we will ever have, at least in the United States, because this is the only time where both millennials and baby boomers, who are the two largest generations, are at like peak earning and spending power, right? 10 years from now, those baby boomers will be dying off, and they will not have the same buying power, or they won't be buying as much stuff. And you'll start seeing millennials, you know, like just the number of people that are out there spending will decline. And then you get into the generations after that where the population declines significantly, right? And especially when after you get to millennials' children, millennials aren't having a lot of children, right? So demand is going to be higher than at any point ever in history. How do you deal with that, right? Because essentially what's happening is that increased demand, that our economy was not prepared for it, right? And why should they be? If it's only going to be like that for 10 years and then it's going to go back down, right? Do you do all of this building up to take on more supply, and then the US population declines? That doesn't make much sense to invest a whole lot into that, right? Probably what you want to do is you want to invest into supply to be able to send to the places that are still growing, like India or Africa, right? So we face a very interesting population demographic conundrum, particularly with inflation, where we may have a whole decade of where inflation is kind of a concern, supply is kind of a concern. And then that will be followed by a period where it will be hard to spur demand, right? Treasury is pressuring the downside. They seem pretty nonchalant about it, though. Does kind of look like they're going to go. So let's see here. That was three things. I mean, I don't really think the population thing is a fourth one. Okay, so it is true. So on the debt ceiling front, it appears that the Republicans are floating a proposal to do a temporary increase that will push the debt ceiling back to next year. So basically so that they can deal with this problem during an election year. Which is kind of, I'm surprised that they want to make that call. They want to do this and potentially have a shutdown in an election year. But we'll see what they do, if that actually goes through or not. I don't know if Democrats will go along with that. Yep, there was another tick down. Micro yield's not responding to it too much yet. Only one tick up on those new highs, or new lows rather. New lows. It kind of seems to me like the market makers aren't pulling out of the way, but that there is volume out there that wants to sell. In the 10-year, I'm not seeing a super strong imbalance, but in the 30-year, they've sold a net 7,000 contracts or so today. The 5-year appears to be on the downside. Overall, I would expect, the pressure to continue to be selling today. Well, we got what, 30 minutes left? I think I need to work on my, these framework of top level ideas. Because I was thinking about it last night, but I don't have like 5 to 10 of them, right? I think the two that keep coming up for me is that it's easier to manipulate demand than it is supply, and that the debt is necessary because our plans is always more than current available resources. Those are two insights that I think most people don't have, that I think really helps you understand what's going on in the market. Uptick? Well, nobody's hitting 15. I don't know if there's a lot of buying demand out there, man. So only 59 hit 15. It's like everybody wants to be short. Tell you what, the S&P 500 is really slow this morning. This feels like summer trading. This really feels like summer trading. Oh, good deal. Cool. See, it's ticked up only 421 into 15. Like, what? Each unit of debt diminishes future demand. Not necessarily, no. Because if you just took out debt, let's just say that you took out that debt on something totally frivolous that provides absolutely no value back to you at all, then that would be true. Each unit of debt that you're taking out, you pay it back. That's money that you could have spent on something else, right? So you're and then when you add interest on top of that, it decreases the future demand, right? But if that is taken in and that is invested and it turns out to be a good investment, then hopefully the amount of productivity and so forth that you're bringing in more than makes up for that debt, right? Like a student loan totally useless for you. What did you go to school for, Trading Bunny? I tell you what, the whole way that that whole education system thing has gone down. I was watching this thing the other day of psychology. That's what my wife did. But she didn't. I don't think she took on student debt for it. Yeah, the issue with psychology is that you kind of have to have a master's to get very much out of it. And even if you have a master's, it might not be that great. I don't know. It seems to me that unless you're becoming an engineer, doctor, lawyer, what else is there? Or business person, that it doesn't really make sense to go to a university. Or a university professor, right? If you want to be a university professor, then that's a different thing. Like here's the thing, is that universities were always kind of premised on this idea of like learning for learning's sake, right? Like the people that are there at the, especially in the humanities, they're there to be experts and to know everything about that particular subject. And it's not really about a particular career or anything like that. It never was, right? But that was also where doctors and lawyers went, right? So people kind of figured out that, oh, if you get a university education, your lifetime earnings will be higher. And that is still the case, right? But then the government started adding the debt on top of it and everything, and so the cost for it went up, as you would expect. Man, that's Treasury falling back down there again. Hardly any buying, man. Hardly any buying at all. And so you get into all of these situations where you spend tons of money to go to school and you get nothing back from it. It's a $30K price tag for what turned out to be just interesting information I could have learned on my own. Ooh. That's rough. I think psychology in particular, it seems like that's one in particular where it seems like, oh, that should have a use, but it's not actually. Like a part of that is our health system is a little messed up, right? I don't think that people get the mental health help that they should. Like it's too expensive for one thing. That just brings me back to this whole thing about like your mind is a neural network, and the information that you're putting into it, you know, changes the brain and how it's wired and so forth. And that can get messed up. And so sometimes you have to go in and fix that neural network, you know? We don't approach it like that. We approach it like your brain is what it is, and if it gets screwed up, then you're crazy and you're genetically inferior. And, you know, people don't want to go and get the help because it's seen as it's seen as like an admittance of personal feeling rather than a, you know, let's tune your mind up and get it working best it can. $28.99 and they clear it, and it goes offer, and there's already 2,000 on offer. This does not look like it's stopping, man. I could try buying it right here, but you know what? The issue that you got now is like it could go back into reversion or getting stuck, and I've only got 30 minutes. You know, that's the interesting question, I guess, would be if you look at all of the money that millennials spent on college education that did not result in a better career. Because, I mean, you could graduate with a psychology degree and you could go into something completely different, and just having a degree does still increase your lifetime earnings. But I see a lot of millennials where they went to university and they're still working as like baristas and stuff like that, right? Like that's really common. So I wonder how much of that debt is really just a loss. you know, because whether or not you transfer it to the rest of society through debt forgiveness, boy, it's still a loss, right? It's still a net drag on US productivity. Okay, so I see bids stepping up here a little bit now that we're at 12.5. Okay, so they take 12.5. Now there's a big old monster order at 12. They're not able to get that one, and it actually buys back 2,000, almost 2,000 contracts at 12.5 back. So that might be. I think they still have the chance to get 12, but there's a pretty good chance that if this trades, that we get stuck in a range here. Kind of choked on my water there, and I'm dying over here. Oh, and as that has going on, gold is coming down a little bit more. 2002. Maybe that is a one of the understandings that we need to, realizations that we need to come to, though, is that if you take out debt and it doesn't result in increased productivity for you, then it is ultimately a loss. So I take, for instance, this weekend, I had to buy a new stove and dishwasher. So we built this house brand new. It's been like, I think it was 2017 that we moved. So it's been 5 or 6 years now. And already both of those appliances were shot. So what happened with the dishwasher was the motor has like a stuck spot. You can get that in an electric motor where like the wires, because an electric motor is just a bunch of wires filter, point around a cylinder and stuff, right? So you can get a spot where in those wires where it's dead. So it'll get to that spot and then it won't spin. And so because of that, like the water wasn't coming out into the dishwasher. And then that meant that the heating element got too hot. And the heating element getting too hot warped the door. So the dishwasher was like a complete loss, apparently. And then the stove has kind of been having issues for a while, but the whole, because it's a gas stove, and I can't switch because there's no plug over there. But the stove, the whole like thing that starts it up and that pushes the gas into it, both of those were busted. So that was going to be about as much as a new stove anyways. So we just got a new one. And now we got one that's like a double oven. So yeah, that really sucks. Okay. Because that is, for me, a loss. That is a purchase that I was not planning on, that I didn't want to do, right? But the big thing is that it's also something that I think reduces my overall productivity, right? Like when my wife has a hard time making any food because we don't have an oven, right? Then we end up spending more time worrying about what we're going to do with food, and we don't get anything done in the evening. So like, it's a drain on when I don't have my medication, I'm not working out, I'm not getting stuff done. It's a drain on my productivity. I just feel tired. Boy. And the problem that I have is doing the things that I feel like I need just to be productive. And I feel like that like eats up everything that I've got. sometimes. I kind of feel bad. I wasn't able to put out a video in March, and we're most of the way through April and we won't have a video. So it'll be like 3 months where we didn't have a video. I'm still waiting on that data. If you've got 5 years tick data, talk to me. Because we want to get this data and do this back test. You don't even have to be using NinjaTrader. We can figure it out on any platform because we're going to export it. 5 years tick data. Uptick 13. Yeah, it does look like so far they haven't been able to push into that 12. So this is not necessarily a situation where I think it would be worthwhile playing like a reversal, but there were definitely an area where the buyer demand down here, the buyer supply down here rather overwhelmed the selling demand. So we could kind of distribute around here. It's probably what's most likely to happen. It's funny. I felt like we just went on a long conversation. It's only been 8 minutes. It's just slow trading today. You know, I think it's funny. Like, if it's slow trading, I would expect more people to come into the stream to be looking for somebody to kind of, you know, entertain them while we're trying to keep an eye on this market, you know, just in case something happens, right? But that's usually not what happens. It's usually if it's a market where not a whole lot is going on, there's just like less people trading the market and the stream gets less viewers. This is what tends to happen. Maybe I need to be turbo mode all the time and being like, okay, here's the trade that we're gonna get. No. Yeah, I probably would do a lot for viewership, actually. But I don't think it would be helping you guys. Okay, no, they didn't. I was about to say, did they take 12? No, they didn't. But there's not the same amount of liquidity there that there was before. I think, though, for them to clear 12, it's probably still going to trade, like, you know, a few 5,000 contracts or whatever. And then over time, probably a lot, even more than that. Let's recenter things. You know, the thing is that this is pretty typical for the treasuries. I feel like the treasuries are very much starting to get back into their usual swing of things, where like they move okay when there's the data and the auctions, and then when you get into the second half of the month, it starts to get pretty quiet, and you get sporadic days where there's just like one kind of okay move, you know? That's the treasuries that I remember. But the S&P 500, oh man, the S&P 500 is just dead in the water, man. I mean, it could be worse. A 10 tick range isn't the worst thing in the world. Certainly not like when the ES was slow before, you could have like a 4 tick range for the whole day, I think. But oh geez, this is just. Oh hey, actually, I was wondering where you're at. It's been like, I don't think I've seen you since the end of that whole SVB fiasco, and I was wondering, I was like, I wonder how I actually dealt with all of that. Oh, maybe you've been in here since then, but oh yeah, because we had a question we wanted to ask you. Do you have access to tick data that goes back 5 years or more? To be specific, we want to calculate the value area high, value area low, and point of control on a daily extended session basis for at least 5 years on the S&P 500. And my data only goes back 1 year. Oh, you score sleep studies? You have it for the past 3 months. Not, I would have thought that you like does Trading Technologies give you the option to go back further than a year? Come on, they've gotta. Like I would just, you know, you go into TT, open up a volume profile chart and see if it lets you see a volume profile for days like 5 years ago. I only keep the yields data for the past 25 years. Well, that would be nice too, but we want volume profile. They have it, but you don't need it, so I didn't ask. That's if you find an easy way for me, because I don't think that I can go in and just pay for TT for 1 month. Well, actually, maybe I could. I don't know. I don't know if it would work. And I don't want to spend it unless I know that it would get out. CME, how would you do that with the CME? How would... I am a researcher. You're saying I can go to the CME like data provider place and see what kind of options we have? So what I want to do, I wrote a strategy trying to backtest setups with volume profile. In particular, this setup where if you open up, if the S&P 500 open is above the previous day's value area high or below the previous day's value area low, and you start to get some trend on that reverting itself, you take the trade on it reverting back to the previous day's point of control. So basically, if you get an upswing on a day like that within like the first hour of trading, then it will try and trade it, right? And then it will just stay in it until you have a couple of different ways to do it, you know, to take profits and everything, right? So that's the back test. Okay, so I can go back to last July, and when I do it to last July, it's not very good. It will do very well for like a month or two, and then it'll do very terribly for a month or two, right? But that's only for a year, and I really feel like that if I was going to present this in a video, that I should really be showing like 5 years worth of data, right? So that's where, and I want to make it so that I can put the data set in the video. Like I can put a download to the data set in the video and all of that stuff, right? So I just got to get access to the data. Okay, oh, wait. So who would we ask? CME group. Do you think TradeStation would have that? Maybe. It just, I mean, it depends on your data provider, right? Data. License data, derived data, blah, blah, blah. Connect to data. Data mine. Browse data products. Interest rates of volume and open interest. That's just like the daily volume. Yeah. You more than 40 years of volume and open interest. End of day. Select data. Complete the required licensing requirements. Use data. Implement new strategies with data straight from the source. Well, I can't receive data. Request trial. Okay, I'll do that. At the top there would be something like data set. Oh, CME data sets. Record type, blah, blah, blah. Volume, I might have to do it with time and sales data, right? What do you think? It doesn't look like they have like volume profile stuff directly, so I'm wondering if I would have to do, yeah, fill out the form at the bottom. I think that's what we're gonna do. Cost $125 to $6,700. A specific period. Monthly, yearly. The thing is that the CME used to provide like this kind of data used to be a big thing, and it's not anymore. So I'm kind of wondering. And the thing is that sample files. Okay. Contains the official volume and open interest information for CME Group futures and contracts. This data set includes only the total volume and open interest for all exchange traded products listed on the CME. Okay, so I don't think that that's the one that we want. How about time and sales? Time and sales probably more expensive. Oh, here we go. Oh, here it is. E-mini futures. Okay. Time and sales filter provide information on trades as well as bids or offers that better the traded prices. This dataset contains the official record of time, trade times, and prices. Oh my. From as early as 1982. Okay. Trade time, trade date, sequence. Oh, wow. Okay. So it's giving you like almost the whole fix message that they send to your data provider usually. Trade quantity. And I don't quite understand that. Ask bid type indicates for bids or offers. Nominal price, same as previous price. Okay. Let's look at here's a data set, I think. Ah, yes. Like me like. Do I want to open this in Excel? Future option index indicator. Oh, it's a future. I gotcha. Volume, strike price, price. AB indicates for bids, offers. And indicative market quotes. Oh, okay. So these are the ones that are like before the market, aren't they? This is volume. Is this what 2012 1105? Is that the date that it's basically giving? Oh, we do have Lagard speaking in a few minutes? Okay. Seems to me that this would give me the data, yeah? I would have to calculate it. I would have to go and calculate it through Python or whatever, but... And that is just one day. Okay. So if we come back to ES, first seen on 1997, $2,000 for the complete history. Let's just get a specific period. $40 a month. Wait. What's 12 times 5 is 60, right? I never remembered the 12 line of the times table. 60, yeah. And then times $40. You might as well buy the whole thing. Monthly. Anybody want to give us $2,000 to to pull the whole thing? Oh, I'm super tempted to do it. Maybe there's a data set that's cheaper that will give us this similar thing though. Like, I don't know if we need all the actual time and sales data, you know? What is top of book? Top of book might be, no. It's more expensive. Looking at these data sets. End of day complete. Total volume. It's time for me to go. This might, I mean, one of these might have. All right, well, I'll keep looking in here. You guys can go and look too if you find some information about how to get us 5 years worth of value area high, value area low, point of control data for 5 years. We're trying to get the volume profile, daily volume profile levels for 5 to 10 years. And we're looking at maybe getting it from the CME. In the meantime, see you guys tomorrow. Stay excellent, team.